Good evening. It is 5 p.m. and this is a special meeting of the Kent School Board, District Board, which is held in public to comply with the Open Public Meetings Act. The purpose of the special meeting is a policy work session. First, we will take attendance. If you are here, please indicate so by saying present. Director Song is excused and absent, as Vice President Farah is. First, we'll start with Director Cook.
Present.
Thank you. And just for those who are watching, Director Cook is joining us virtually. Director Clark?
Present.
And then I am present. As we start our work session tonight, I call upon Superintendent Bella, if you could kick us off.
Thank you, President Margell, members of the board, and Team KSD. Thank you for being here tonight. I'm going to go ahead and get our policy work session started by introducing Ms. Pam Hawley, our policy coordinator. Pam.
Good evening, President Margell, members of the board, Ms. Curry, Superintendent Vela. Sorry, that was out of order. And the rest of you that are here tonight. Tonight, we're going to just flip through this PowerPoint really quickly and then get right to work. I always start with bringing out the essentials, encouraged, and discretionary definitions. We are concentrating mostly on the essentials. Those are required by law or special funding, so we're trying to get caught up on those. There are always frequent changes in the law and recommended practices, so reviewing, revising, and adopting policies is an ongoing task for the board. The first thing we'll be looking at is our revised protocol guidelines. It's not a policy, it is a protocol guideline for the board. That was second reading. Policy 2413, equivalency credit opportunities, also second reading. Policy 3206, pregnant and parenting students. 3424, opioid-related overdose reversal. Policy 4129, family involvement, first reading. Policy 4130, Title I, parental and family engagement, also first reading. Policy 4237, contest, advertising, and promotions, first reading. Policy 2420, grading and progress reports, first reading. And Policy 2004, performance improvement goals, first reading. Let's get started with the protocol guidelines. I'll pull them up so we can look at those. Okay, this is a second reading at the September 25th policy work session. Members of the board asked to have another look at this. They wanted to review, make comments and/or suggestions for changes. As of today, I didn't see that anyone made any suggestions, comments, or changes. So this is how the board protocol is showing. The red line version is the changes that we have made. And does anyone have any questions? No? Good to move on? Okay. Next is Policy 2413. This is update of the equivalency credit opportunities. This is a second reading. The board had asked that the policy be split up. They thought it was too much of protocol in the policy, so the teaching and learning team split it out. And I don't know if anyone had a chance to look at it in your policy folders, but it is quite pared down from what it was. Does anyone have any questions on this?
I do, oh, go ahead, please.
Yeah, this is probably to, well, I'm guessing it's to you, Rebecca, but
direct wherever it goes. And in the, there's no page number, but above, just in the paragraph above, elective credit for paid work experience. And it goes, to ensure cultural responsiveness and equity in awarding mastery-based credit, the district will collect and annually review disaggregated data to see which student groups are receiving mastery-based credit. Now, I'm assuming that they were already previously identified, and the specific credits that they were supposed to be achieving were also previously identified.
In the disaggregated data? I believe so, but I can verify with our research and assessment team.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just the logic of it, and
And that's how all of our academic data is disaggregated, through our dashboards that the team develops. And so that's by race, ethnicity, gender, programming, et cetera.
Yeah, but this is about awarding mastery-based credit, and that obviously implies a totally separate entity in terms of academic exchange.
Yeah, so as we get more into the procedural components of this and what this looks like to implement, that is where we can align this policy to ensure that that data is disaggregated.
Okay, great,
Yeah,
thank you.
for that feedback.
And I just think this, my concern last time was that it read much more like a policy.
Yes.
Or a procedure than a policy. And I can see there's obviously been many changes to that. It makes it look much more like a policy.
Yeah. Agree.
And I appreciate that, so thank you. Is your team happy with it? Like, where it ended up?
You happy with it, Dr.
Dr. Corbally?
With procedure attached, it is more than fine.
Perfect, okay.
And I do recall, President Margell, that's what the team did do, is try to disaggregate that and make it more policy-oriented versus procedures.
This is how it reads with all of the changes made, so it's considerably pared down. Good to move on?
Director Cook, anything for you?
No, I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, policy 3206, pregnant and parenting students. The new Title IX 2024 regulation, which was finalized by the Department of Education in April of 2024, has new requirements that students be provided reasonable modifications for pregnancy and related conditions, be provided lactation spaces, and students who disclose pregnancy to any employee must be referred to the Title IX coordinator for information about pregnancy-related rights. This new regulation is not retroactive, so as a district, we must still comply with 2020 regulations for any reports of incidents that occurred prior to August 1st, 2024, meaning there will be two different complaint resolution processes.
I'm good.
No questions.
It looked like we followed the WASDA model pretty closely. Anything of note that we strayed from that?
We felt it was.
I think it was.
It really captured, I think, what things that are already happening in place. It really just formalizes things that schools in the district are already doing.
Thank you. I think we're good to move on. Thank you.
Okay. Next one is policy 3424, opioid-related overdose reversal. According to the Washington State Department of Health, the rate of opioid-related deaths among 14 to 18-year-olds almost tripled in Washington from 2016 to 2022. Under Senate Bill 5804, elementary and middle schools must have a supply of the overdose reversal drug, commonly known as Narcan, on hand, as must all high schools, which is reflected in the changes. Those are the only changes in this policy, is to note the Narcan will be at elementary and middle schools, not just high schools.
All right, I have a question for administration. Clearly, the likelihood of its use is in secondary, and we have more elementary buildings. So the first question I have is the shelf life of the preventative.
Yeah, Ms. Barron can talk, I guess the question is on the shelf life of the Narcan, is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, shelf life?
Yes, like currently, we have brand-new Narcans in all of our schools, and the shelf life carries it till, I believe, February of 2026. So it's over a year.
All right, so the obvious thing is to rotate the supply. So
Correct.
That's my,
Yeah, keeping track of that to make sure that it's always updated.
And Lindy, who is our Director of Coordinated Health Services, she manages and tracks that every school has a trained staff member, and they keep track of those expirations.
good. I'm good with it.
I have no questions.
Okay,
Director Cook?
No questions.
Thank you.
next is policy 4129, family involvement. This is first reading. This is a discretionary policy, but it is new to KSD. WASDA introduced this policy in 2011. It's relevant to us because it relates to our strategic plan goal 2, expanding student, family, and community partnerships. The policy notes that the board is committed to the creation and implementation of culturally inclusive and effective school-family partnerships throughout the school district and in each school, and believes these partnerships to be critical to the success of every student.
And again, my question is to administration. You've gone to significant lengths this year in terms of trying to improve building to family communication. But the underscoring question I have is it can't just be one-way communication. And so is the effective, I don't understand the effectiveness of a family trying to communicate that it doesn't fit one of our major language groups, and how do they communicate?
Yeah, it's a great question, and then just for clarity, it is that, as we know, our, with over 130 languages spoken in communication, we certainly, in our district, do a lot of work around making sure we have two-way communication as opposed to one-way. So I'll let Ms. Whitlock talk a little bit more about that, but the other piece I wanted to share, there's also a language access bill that was passed recently that we also must adhere to. So, Ms. Whitlock.
And I was going to reference the language access bill as well, and Faith can probably speak to this, but I know in our work using the language line and accessing, even if we don't have translated documents, to have documents read to families, so really expanding our uses. But Faith, do you have anything to add on the language access piece?
To add to that, other than we do have 45 interpreters. They're not all for every language, but they can hire them to help families understand documents or read documents. We also have video access too, with over 100 languages. We have a new language service coming online called 911. And it also will provide Pashto and some of the languages that are not as common for interpreters. So we're working diligently to try to meet those needs.
Okay, thank you.
I have no questions.
I have no questions.
Director Cook? Sorry. Director Cook? Do we still have a connection?
He's back.
Okay. I will assume that there's no questions. Okay. Policy 4130?
Yep. Okay, Title I, Parental and Family Engagement. This policy was revised to reflect recently updated Title I Part A law to better support disadvantaged students. These changes are designed to foster a more equitable educational environment, guaranteeing that all students, regardless of their socioeconomic status, have access to quality education and necessary support.
Okay, so, and I don't know where this question would go. The first section is the district will do the following to promote parent and family engagement. And the second section is removing barriers to parental involvement by doing the following. I was caught off guard when I got down to section 2, and under that, number 4E, state-operated preschool programs. And how does that fit within what this district does?
Thank you, Ms. Wicklaw.
Absolutely. This specifically applies to our Title I school-wide schools, or 23 Title I schools this policy applies to.
Okay.
And this language comes directly out of the federal language, so this is part of the law. You may recall about 2 years ago, we participated in a federal audit of OSPI around Title I, and one of the pieces of feedback on that was the policy piece and upgrading the policy. And so this is part of our work in making sure families in our Title I schools are aware of all of these supports and opportunities.
Okay, so that, I'm just realizing I'm reading it. It was specified in 20 USC 631-18, and then I'm suddenly realizing, that's federal.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
codified in
okay,
federal law.
All right. so
Yeah,
I get it.
I also wanted to add that part of Title I, there's a requirement around transitioning students that may be transitioning into Title I schools. That would include any of our early learning, maybe Head Start, ECAP, or other early learning programs. If we've had students that are going to come in, we should be helping transition them into our schools, including transitioning them from grade to grade. So that is a requirement under Title I that we need to be doing that.
All right, and given our mix of students, that requires a real early identification.
Yes, it does. Yep.
Okay.
I did have, it just caught my eye with offering flexible number of meetings, such as meetings in the morning or in the evening. Are we doing that now and offering before school meetings for?
Schools work individually with their community and determine what works best. We actually do have a couple schools who do muffins with moms and donuts with dads and do some morning meetings. And so they work with their parent-family engagement groups to decide what the best route is to deliver meetings. So there are a variety of things being offered.
Okay, so, how to say, we're offer a flexible number of meetings, such as meetings in the morning or evenings, based off of the need of that particular school.
Correct.
Okay.
Is that a change in language you want, or you're just clarifying?
If that feels like, I mean, it's the procedure on that, and if we feel that it's already there, I don't feel like it has to be, but it just does. I don't want it to be that we have to have one in the morning and the evening if nobody's going to show up in the morning. right? Because it says that we're going to have these meetings. If it's not necessary, that just seems redundant and too much work. And so I just wanted to make sure that the language allows for what's actually going to happen.
And our school leaders are pretty conscientious about that and knowing when you're going to get the most participation or what's going to be the most accommodating, accessible to our families.
Yeah, I guess my concern is just the opposite, in that I feel for our building leaders, I don't want them to have to feel the necessity to hold something that nobody's going to show up to.
Yeah.
Because they're tied to that they have to have a morning and an evening meeting, and that
Yeah.
that they can know their community, which they do.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know if it's, as long as you feel that your building leaders are not going to be held to a standard that's too high.
Yeah.
Yes, and just to clarify, this is the district policy, but each building that's a Title I building has to have their own parent and family engagement policy that they develop with their families that specifies how they will meet with families, what meetings look like, what times work. So they're given that autonomy within that building parent-family engagement plan to do that.
That's the building family compact,
Yeah,
right?
well, no, it's not the compact, it's the parent-family engagement plan.
Plan,
So those
okay.
are two separate, yeah.
Yeah, so I think, yes, President Margell, the flexibility is there from a district perspective, and as Ms. Whitlock mentioned, it's also a federal requirement for each school that is Title I, that has their own family engagement policy, which can even get more specific in terms of what their needs are. So I think the district policy allows for that, and then they adapt it to their school.
Great, thank you. That was the only thing that caught my eyes. It's a lot.
Ready to move on?
Yeah, for me.
I'm good. Director Cook?
Questions?
Great, thank you.
Okay, we're on to 4237, contests, advertising, and promotions.
You know, I have to tell you, I swear we had this policy already.
When did we last update that? It might be to do, we had some finance policies that had to do with some of this language in there, but let me look and see when we last updated it. It should be on the PowerPoint, if you have your paper there. I can pull the PowerPoint back up just a second. New to us, actually. New to us, new to KSD.
All right.
But I think we did have some language about this in some of our finance policies.
Well, this is many years ago, but the same exact issues that are being addressed, I
Okay.
swear were addressed then, but that's fine.
Who's the decisioner of that it is, has educational value and it's free of objectionable information?
I believe that might be dependent on, because I'm reading the intent here is different, back to Director Clark. This could be a variety of not just athletics, it could be other kinds of activities or advertising promotions in schools. And to your question, President Margell, the decision, if it was a school, obviously principals, but Dr. Corbally, if you might shed some light on this one. I'm looking at it and, because I'm thinking about other types of contests, advertising, and promotions that might be in schools, not just middle school or high school, that this might pertain to.
I'm not sure at this time I can answer that question because I'm not sure, this is the first time I've seen this policy, but I would imagine that there would be some things the way I read this is the recommendation comes by the teacher and the principal to a designee. potentially, that they would have looked at what value they see it having for their students in particular.
Right. And also that it doesn't conflict with other
Yeah,
curricular types
doesn't-
of things
yeah.
in policy. I'm reading the legal reference. When you see use of school districts' facilities, that's why I thought about across the district, not just athletics and that. So it would be the principal to answer that question if it's in a building. We also have our own athletics and activities office that would be touching that decision-making, always in the use of a facility. So if that answers the decision part of it, because building principals would be a part of that.
My concern on this one is that there are student groups that maybe, I've seen prayer around the school flag. That may or may not, people would say, and done before school by a student group. Would that be up to a principal to decide if that has educational value? I would also think about some of the, where the affinity groups that we have within our high schools, middle schools, that may draw students in, but may be objectionable to a particular person. And it feels very single point of failure, where one person gets to decide what has educational value in our particular schools. And that can keep, what I'm seeing here is that they can keep our school facilities from being able to have those groups. Help me out what I'm missing on this one.
Yeah, no, I think I brought up the facilities use form, for example. Any outside entity that would be using our facilities, including fields, by the way, would have to go through our process, our facilities use form process. Looking over to Deputy Superintendent Behringer on this, and Brian Smith, our Director of Athletics and Activities, that's where that originates. So if it's at a school, it could originate there, but eventually it needs to be approved by our Athletics and Activities Department. I'll look to Dr. Behringer on that to confirm, but I do recall that from my experience.
If that's outside the school day. So during the school day or prior to school, you don't have to be a recognized club or group or association to meet at the flagpole. Students can do that. They don't have to be a representative of a particular group, but ASB supported club or activity. So I think what this looks like is more of like if a club, recognized club, a recognized group within the school, having to have, if I could just pull that off to
Yep.
the side a little
Yep.
bit more. Prior approval. So if we're going to do, if the school's going to do something, kids are going to do something and they represent the school, having prior approval to be able to promote or be a part of a campaign of some sort. As far as the educational value, it goes back to the principal in a lot of those cases. But to your point of, one person making that call, rarely will you see a building leader make a decision, a unilateral decision that, excludes a particular group without having conversations with lots of people to find out the ramifications of exclusion of that group. So, I don't know, we don't have, trying to think of who else would be better to be able to answer part of this question as well.
Can I say that I'd like to go ahead and hold this one over, just because I'd like to find out some more information, make sure I understand it fully before moving it on?
Yes, and I know that Ms. Faith, Ms. Sisley might have a little bit more, but I want to make sure that she,
I'm sorry.
If you reference the legal reference there at the bottom, and you go to that link, it talks about the legal definition and what exactly does that mean in the brief answers. And it says, these provisions are not violated if voluntarily organized student religious organizations incidentally receive the same benefits of access to school district property as would be granted to another student organization whose purpose is not religious. So if we're following those guidelines, our principals, whoever would be making that decision would have to follow that guideline.
Thank you, and I appreciate that, and I saw that when we're talking just about religious versus not, but I think I want to understand a little bit more about kind of all of our different clubs and who gets included and who doesn't get included, and I'm sure it all makes sense. I just want a little bit more follow-up to be able to make sure I understand it fully.
Absolutely, we can do that.
Okay.
Thank you.
We're on to 2420, grading and progress reports. Revisions were based on Senate Bill 1176, withholding of transcripts and diplomas, where language about the withholding of a student's grade report until payment for any school property that's been lost or damaged has been struck out. There's also added language about learning goals and participation and attendance and how they do or do not factor into grading.
I have no questions on this one.
I have no questions.
Do we have anything around if, when we talk about grades, such as if there's 3 teachers all teaching the same topic at a particular school, that they do it the same way, that they grade the same way, or that if different schools have the same 8th grade science, that it's consistent from school to school?
So I know the standard would be consistent, that they would be measured against. That would be the consistent. The question is, do we have consistency on the grading of that standard and meeting that standard? Just making sure I got the question right.
Yes, I mean, I'm happy to give a more specific example.
Yep.
You have 8th grade science, and you have 3 teachers teaching it. One teacher, if you have a late assignment, you can't turn it in, you get a 0. Another teacher, you can turn it in, you can only get a 60%, highest that you get, and the other teacher can give you 100%. So at the end of the semester, you have 3 kids do the exact same work. One gets an A, one gets a B, and one gets a C with the same level of mastery.
So that example points out that we actually do not have consistency across our teachers around grading. Grading is contractually up to the teacher, and by actually some RCWs, it is up to the teacher there, but they have to establish that in their syllabus up front. Now, what I do know is building principals have been working with their departments around creating consistency in their grading practices and policies, and there is some work at the systems level that we are doing around actually creating some more consistency about grading. Grading in and of itself is a large bucket of how we instructionally give kids feedback, and wanting as a system to get more succinct about what that means and what it means to have met a standard, right? So if we're thinking about our elementary who are more standards-based, getting some calibration about what it means to be meet a particular standard at whatever level it is. So that is work that we are doing, and I think you'll see that in the new procedure that comes forward, because that's work we are working on with our principals.
Okay. And students don't get to choose anymore what teachers that they have, so you're kind of stuck with, you have the teacher who weights homework and you're not a homework kid, or weights tests more, and you don't get to choose that either?
I don't think there's a choice of the selection of the teacher. Last year, I think January, we began having this conversation with all of our secondary leaders as we were looking at credit retrieval opportunities in comprehensive schools and being more consistent there. The standardization of gradings came up quite a bit. So that is why when Dr. Corbel refers to work that we're doing at the system level, we are embarking on a multi-year journey to get more calibrated as a system of what we mean by standards-based instruction, so that we can result in standards-based grading, and that's calibrated across all of our schools. So that is a body of work that 3 of our executive directors are leading that charge, and they have drafted what that scope of work is going to be. Most recently, the conversations were around how can we calibrate on what lives on the syllabi, so that middle school, 8th grade science teacher on one side of town to the other side of town are consistent there. And what in our opportunities with our new cumulative grade book might we want to set up with default settings? So those are all conversations that are happening, that are leading the body of work that we are launching in the next couple of weeks. So great questions. As a parent, I absolutely understand the frustration of my kid wants to have that chemistry teacher because they grade easier. Totally get that and hear that. And I have asked questions of my child's principal of how calibrated are you on standards-based instruction and grading? So I hear you personally and professionally, and it is a priority in the work that we're doing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
To go.
I'm just going to point out one other thing. Thank you so much for making it so we can see our kids' grades on our system now in Skyward. That it was nice to be able to see all of those.
Okay, we're on to the last policy. It's 2004 performance improvement goals. The revision of this policy, which hasn't been updated in 15 years, involved a shift in the name from accountability goals to performance improvement goals to align with legal requirements. The goals focus on student performance in relation to objective strategies and other related factors. It is now consistently referenced it is now also consistently referenced federal requirements as outlined in the cited regulations in this policy.
I have no questions on it.
I am curious, the line out indicated, where to go? The line out said the prorated rate to meet the goal of 85% way back in 2014, extended to graduation rate of 73%, and now it's 90%, and that's under state guidelines?
Director Clark, is this where you're looking, where I have it here?
Well, the 90% is what's written on the second page of the rewrite.
Okay, let's see.
But the lower percentages were lined out from previous things under section 3. But the basic question is the state guideline now 90%?
That's what I understood from the reference of the WAC, but I have to say I did not go and look at it. Yep, okay.
Okay, all right.
Director Cook, any questions?
No questions for me. Thank you.
Thank you.
So all but one of the policies will move on. The protocol will move on with a resolution at the next regular board meeting.
Correct.
Thank you, TNL team.
Yeah, just another quick note, thank you to the board for the great questions and to our TNL team for all your work as well. Thank you, Ms. Hawley.
Thank you, Ms. Hawley. And that concludes our work session. And the work session is adjourned for, nope. Do we have a quorum for our executive session?
We do not.
Okay. We are adjourning at 5:39, and we will return at 6:30. Sorry, I'm getting there. 6:30 for our regular meeting. Thank you. Good evening. It is 6:30, and we are calling our regular session to order. We will start with a roll call of our board members. At this time, when I say your name and you are present, please indicate that by saying the word present. I will announce that today that Director Song is absent and excused, as is Vice President Farah, who is also absent and excused. And joining us virtually, Director Cook,
Present.
Director Clark,
Present.
and I am present. Director Clark, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening. So excited to see so many people in our audience tonight. This is a meeting of the Kent School District Board, which is held in public to comply with the Open Public Meetings Act. We welcome the public's participation in the board meeting and thank those of you who have come to this meeting and those who are viewing via our live stream. The purpose of the board meeting is for the board to conduct its business in public. During the meeting, the board will listen to but not respond to comments from visitors. Whether made verbally in person, verbally on video, or written, comments are limited to a total of one per person per regular board meeting. One additional comment per person may be submitted for public hearing topics if there's a public hearing on the agenda. All forms of public comment are subject to Chapter 4256 RCW Public Records Act. The public may comment at regular board meetings in a manner authorized by state law. All comments must adhere to Policy 1420 and Procedure 1420P. If you wish to make a comment to the board, comment forms are available for completion prior to the meeting and must be turned in no later than the beginning of the legislative report. No forms will be accepted once this report has begun. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. Public comments will be heard after the agenda review. Students will be the first to speak on any topic during the student voice portion of the agenda, which takes place immediately following this opening. General public comments from non-students will be heard during preliminary communication from the audience. Any remaining comments, whether from students or non-students, will be heard at specific agenda items and during the final communication from the audience. Student comments will be first on any topic. Please state your first and last name prior to beginning your testimony. Abuse of public comments personally directed towards the board, staff, or students will not be tolerated. The use of specific names or personally identifiable information of board, staff, or students is not allowed. Board members or KSD staff members may interrupt or terminate an individual statement when not adhering to Procedure 1420P. All comments, whether verbal or written, must adhere to the standards of civility as defined in Policy 1400, meeting conduct, order of business, and quorum. If you're seated in an overflow room, there is a brief delay in the live stream audio. We will allow extra time for you to make your way to the boardroom after your name is called. Individuals with items for the board or superintendent must provide the items directly to our safety services staff. Approaching the dais during the board meeting is not allowed. Any items turned in will be provided to the board and superintendent following the meeting. Director Cook, would you like to read our land acknowledgement?
I apologize. I don't have it pulled up. I had to join virtually through my phone. Would you mind reading it instead?
That'd be great. I will go ahead and do that this time. We acknowledge we are gathered upon the ancestral lands of the Muckleshoot Indian tribe, who historically lived throughout the area between the Cascade Mountains and Puget Sound. We are now on to the agenda review. Superintendent Vela, are there any changes to the agenda?
President Margell, there are no changes to the agenda.
Move approval of the agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
There has been a motion made and seconded to approve the agenda as given. We are now open for discussion.
I have no comments.
Seeing that there is none, we move to a vote. There is a motion to approve the agenda as written. All those in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye.
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 The motion passes 3-0. We now move on to section 2.01, student public comments. Ms. Antello?
Ms. Santello.
Good evening, President Margell, members of the board, and Superintendent Vela, Ms. Curry. So far, we've received one student comment for this evening, so I'll present that to you at this time.
Great, thank you. And I apologize for the pronunciation on this. Our first speaker is Alexander Bilyari, if I am even close.
Just go.
Just state your first and last name, and then you have 3 minutes.
My name is Alexander Billiard. I'm a freshman at Kent Laboratory Academy. Last week, on Monday, October 14th, a freshman was arrested by Kent Police Department and school security during my third period biology class at Kent Laboratory Academy. He was arrested for bringing an airsoft pistol into the school. Later that night, the student in question posted on Instagram, and I quote, "When I get back, everyone's dying." There's been talk that the student could return to Kent Laboratory Academy this year. I believe I speak for many students when I say that this course of action is not appropriate. This being said, I implore the district to leave the decision up to Kent Laboratory Academy administration and staff because they know our school best. I'd also like to address the significant overworking and understaffing of our school. Our school's special education department especially. Some of our teachers are very overworked for the amount of special education students they have on their roster. That's all for me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We are now on to section 3.0, and we have our presentations.
President
And-
Margell, if I may.
Yes.
I've just received more student comments.
Absolutely.
I'd like to present those to you at this time.
Yep, thank you. We have several. Our second student speaker tonight will be Romy Chan. Pass on that one. Dung To. Okay. Nazar Shimov.
Good evening. My name is Nazar Shaimov, and I'm a senior at Kenwood High School. Recently, I've noticed a lot of vandalism in the school bathrooms, and I would like to see improvement in that situation.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Our next speaker is Matt Ugabon. Pass on that one. Benjamin Idos.
Good evening. My name is Benjamin Idos. I would like to talk about the concerns about school safety. Lately, there's been a lot of problems with security and students bringing in guns to school, and I'd like to address that. Really, that's really all for me.
Thank you, Benjamin. Our next student speaker, maybe Danny Juan. Sorry about that, Danny.
Good evening. I'd like to talk about an issue in the school bathrooms of other students using vapes or carts, and it kind of disrupts other students that don't want to see that or don't want to participate in that to kind of not use it and kind of feel unsafe in a school environment which it shouldn't feel unsafe, and that's about it.
Thank you, Danny. Our last card that I have today is from Gerson Gill?
Hello, my name is Gershon, and I'm a student from Kenwood High School, and I wanted to talk about like more opportunities for field trips for for other businesses, for this career path. So I think the KSD should offer more like incentive to go on these field trips and like just offer more options to go so students can see what their like future career plans are like.
Thank you very much. Seeing that we have no more student comments with us right now, we're going to move on to section 3.01, our Neie O'Brien Elementary presentation, and I call upon Superintendent Bella.
Thank you, President Margell. Excited tonight to have our board listen to some of the great things happening in our schools. Our first night of several to come, so I'm excited now, and I'm going to, without further ado, introduce Dr. Rebecca Kim, our Associate Superintendent of Teaching and Learning.
Good evening, President Margell, Board Directors, Superintendent Bella, and Ms. Curry. We are so thrilled to launch our 2024-25 school presentations for the school year. We are going to have a series of 5 throughout the school year, and today I just wanted to be able to frame the purpose of these. So in a previous board work session, you shared that you wanted to hear more student voice, you want to see more data, hear about how things are going with our school improvement plans, etc. And so instead of doing that just one time mid-year, we wanted to spread that throughout these public board presentations. So today, thankful for our principal, and I will let Dr. Avery introduce her, just wanted to share the excitement around the alignment to our strategic plan goals and the intentionality of how that lives in our schools. Also, with our updated school improvement policy, board policy that we adopted last February, you're going to see more science incorporated in all of our school improvement plans. You're going to see more data throughout the year so that you can see the progress along the way. You're going to see some satellite data, which is more end of the school year spring data, but you're going to see more updated data, and we heard loud and clear that you want to see more data in what is happening in our schools. And then last, but definitely not least, an opportunity for increased student voice and spotlights. And today you're going to hear about a couple of our rising stars at Neie O'Brien, and I will not take away that light from our principal. With that, I'm going to have Dr. Christine Avery introduce our school. She is an Executive Director of School and Leadership Success, and I will pass it on to you.
Good evening. I am honored to introduce Principal Jennifer Osgood of Neie O'Brien to you this evening. This is her 4th year as principal at Neie O'Brien. She is an outstanding educational leader and a dedicated servant to the Neie O'Brien community. I am thrilled to have her share the great work happening and the wonderful students of Neie O'Brien Elementary. Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you. Good evening, President Margell, Directors of the Board, Superintendent Vela, and Ms. Curry. I'm Jennifer Osgood. I'm the principal at Neie O'Brien. I'm super excited to be here. I have the opportunity tonight to share some of the great work happening at Neie O'Brien. And as someone who gets to go every day and see the great work, I'm always thrilled to have an opportunity with a captive audience to talk about it. So I'm going to kind of start by setting the stage a little bit for anyone who does not have the privilege of working or partnering closely with Neie O'Brien. So Neie O'Brien is a highly diverse school in every way. So we have between, on any given day, between 475 and 500 students. Our students come from a wide range of ethnic backgrounds. We have a high percentage of students who are coming from families that are multilingual, so that speak the language other than English. We have a high percentage of students experiencing low economic circumstances. We have 3 special programs at our school. So we have the dual language program where students learn Spanish as well as English throughout their K-12 educational career. We have the highly capable program, the Odyssey program at our school. And we also have a wide spectrum of special education services, which include some self-contained sports center classrooms. So we have just a wide range of programming at our school. Another type of diversity that's kind of harder to quantify that I wanted to touch on is a wide range of diversity in school experiences coming into Neie O'Brien. So our kindergartners come in with, a wide range of structured school and life experiences, but we also have students at every grade level coming in on any given day that come from other schools in Kent, other schools in the state, students who come from other countries with school experience, or students who come in with no formal education experience. So in a given year, we have between 20 and 25% of our student body turns over. So we have kind of a constant influx of new stories and members of our community. So it's a very diverse place. This slide shows our top 5 home languages. So English and Spanish are the predominant home languages. We actually have 35 languages represented in our student body. So we have just kind of this rich linguistic student body and community. So, all these things make Neie O'Brien an extremely diverse school in about every way that you can think of. And for anyone who gets to work or partner with us, it's just a gift, right? It's a gift to come to a place where we have 500 students and all their families bringing completely unique stories to our building. And the work we get to do is really bringing together like every element of humanity that exists and coming together in kind of a shared purpose and work. So it's really an amazing place to be. It's we just get all the pieces in one location. It also comes with unique challenges. So we are, we're responsible for delivering on the promise of education to all of our students. We're preparing all of our students for their futures by providing equitable access to high-quality learning opportunities. So our work is bringing together 500 students with a wide range of experiences and backgrounds and creating a safe space where they can learn and where we can provide what they need to reach their full potential. And so it's challenging work, but it's a privilege to do. So that's a little bit of the background, and now I'm going to get into what Dr. Kim talked about, some of the data and the connections between our school improvement plan and the district strategic vision. So kind of where we are, so I started, like Dr. Avery said, I've been the principal. This is my 4th year. I started at Neie O'Brien 6 years ago as the assistant principal. By the time I stepped in as principal, there had been 4 principals there in 6 years. There were just a lot of systems and structures missing, and not for lack of hardworking people, but just that the turnover in leadership just leads to we were missing some structures. And in a school with the diversity that Neie O'Brien has, you have to have structures and systems just to create an inclusive enough environment to provide for all students that come in our doors. We also know that, the world is getting tougher for our kids, and especially post-pandemic. There's a lot more, kids are exposed to a lot more, there's a lot more trauma, and so there's a lot more work to do in creating a safe space for kids to learn. And so that lack of structures and systems was really impactful. So we, sorry, I'm off track now. So we knew our work was in creating structures and systems because the lack of structures and systems led to a few things, and it's kind of a compounding effect. So that led to high staff turnover. It led to high absenteeism, and it also led to high rates of exclusionary discipline, just for lack of supports. So we knew in the beginning that was kind of our work. We had to stabilize and build a strong school culture. So I have a couple slides that show some data that kind of highlight that work that we were really doing for the first three solid years that I was at Neie O'Brien. So this slide shows our staff retention rate over the years. And so if we look at 2016, between 2016 and 2018, we were losing about 20% of our staff every year, which is really impactful, just in creating that consistency and working on the instruction that we know needs to happen. When you have 20% of your teachers who are new every year, it's really hard to do. But the good news is we are kind of on the upward trend. So in the 22-23 year, we were up to 95% staff retention. So that has really enabled us to work with continuity and create some of those things. This shows something that has been hugely impactful. This is our exclusionary discipline rates. So, unfortunately, exclusionary discipline is something we have to use from time to time, but it's always damaging to students' sense of belonging when it happens. And so you can see between 2017, 2020, there were really high rates of exclusionary discipline, of instances where we were removing students from the classroom. But we worked really hard as a school to kind of turn around the mindset around how we were supporting students. And so we've reduced that significantly. And that's really done a lot to build a strong culture of safety for students. So that was the work in the first really 3 years that I was there. And what's really exciting is that with those systems and structures in place, and some consistency, we've been able to turn our focus to some academic work and really focus on instruction. And so the story I'm telling today is really the beginning of the story. When we look at satellite data like SBA scores, iReady scores, those are lagging indicators. And so we make the changes and then we don't see the results in that type of data until later. But what we're seeing is we're starting to see the results. So we're starting to see kind of the upward trend, and it's really exciting. So I'm going to go through some slides, relatively quickly. But this slide is our SBA data and ELA. And again, just really highlighting that upward trend. We're starting to see more of our students meet standard, and that will continue to, go up. This is a breakdown by grade level, and what we're excited about here is the significant increase in our third graders data. So if we think about when we put our systems in place, and really the focus we've had on foundational skills, our third graders, the third grade group is the first group where we had solid years of instruction and focus on especially foundational literacy. And so the fact that we're seeing those higher scores in the third grade year is really exciting. We have some overall iReady data. So iReady is a little more granular in that we do it 3 times a year so we can see the progress. So this is comparing the fall data to the spring data. So you can see where the percentage of students meeting standard has increased significantly. And the percentage of students that are significantly below is reduced. So this is kind of just the year in, year out work where we're building closer to all of our students meeting standard and being at grade level. This is a slide specifically focused on the phonics domain, which again, those foundational literacy skills have been a huge focus for us. So the significant growth we see in this domain in particular is really exciting. This also has a lot to do with the implementation of our new ELA curriculum and some of the consistency there and the focus on the science of reading in that work. So we are excited about that. This is math. So we're seeing similar trends upward. Again, really excited about the third grade data. So again, a couple years where we're really building those foundational skills and we're seeing it pay off when they're reaching that SBA age. This is our iReady math data. So again, increased percentages of students on or above grade level, decreased percentages of students who are significantly below within the space of a year. So that is exciting. And then this is one that we, and by we I mean my assistant principal, Miss Burns, works very hard on, and that is attendance. You know, attendance took a hit for all of us after the pandemic, and so we've been really working hard to build up our attendance again. So this shows we're kind of on that upward trend. We actually, so that shows kind of the overall data for any student that was at Neie O'Brien at any point in 23-24, but by the end of the year, we were actually up around 62% of our students. Right now, it's early in the year, but we're at 77.5%. So we get very excited every week when we get to put that number in our staff newsletter. So that has been a focus, and a lot of hard work has gone into that. So I am going to talk about kind of where we're going. So our school improvement goals. This is kind of the SIP plan. So we have our 4 goals, and they really align with the district's strategic plan. So when I think about the district's strategic plan, there are 4 goals, and really what they're all about is creating equitable opportunities and experiences for students. And so, you know, that looks a little bit different at every level. At elementary school, we talk a lot about equity and what that means at Neie O'Brien. And for us, what that means is we are building a foundation for all of our students that will enable them to be successful in middle school and high school, and then to graduate with as many options for their future as anyone else, right? As many options as they could possibly want. And so for us, building that foundation of success ultimately means that our students are reading and writing and engaging in math and science at grade level. So, you know, being a global citizen, creating these equitable systems, it's really all about how are we creating the academic experiences for our students. And there are lots of layers to that around creating a safe school for students, the social emotional learning, but really we're at the point in our school and our work where we've had enough consistency to drill down and get to instruction. So we're excited about that. So our goals really focus on, well, the first goal just focuses on students being at school. So all the great instruction is only great instruction when students are there to receive it. So we are really focused on bringing down our chronic absenteeism. So that's any student that is absent 10% of the time or more. That's kind of the tipping point where the evidence shows that then that's what's significantly impactful on progress. We are specifically working on supporting our students of Hawaiian Pacific Islander descent. So we're aiming for 9% reduction in all chronic absenteeism and 19% for our Hawaiian Pacific Islander students. We have individualized, and by we I mean again, Assistant Principal Barnes has individualized attendance intervention system for students that need that additional support. And then school-wide, we're really focused on our social emotional learning program and our family engagement opportunities to increase those partnerships and the attendance piece. English language arts, we are focusing on increasing the percentage of students that are reaching their iReady stretch goals. So that means that they are making more than a year's progress. And we're still at a point in our school where most of our students are not at grade level yet. And so we're really focusing on those stretch goals to close the gaps. So we are hoping to increase the percentage of students meeting those stretch goals by 10%, and we're really drilling down support for our students receiving multilingual services, and how we are supporting them in engaging in the core curriculum in class. So we're doing this by really focusing on professional learning communities and that work in teacher teams. We have an intensive intervention system on 6-week cycles for students that need more support. And then we are looking kind of forward to the summer to see how we can use that time to continue the learning. In math, we're similarly looking at our stretch goals, or our goal for stretch growth for our students, and again, supporting our multilingual students through professional learning communities. We're also doing some targeted professional development in math instruction. just to kind of make the math instruction more consistent across the grade levels so that students year to year are building on their skills. And then science, like Dr. Kim said, we're talking more about science this year, which is great. We have focused our science goal on comprehension of informational text. What we know about science is you have to be able to read science to do science. And so we are working on increasing the students that are proficient in that domain of iReady, with, again, a focus on multilingual students. We know that science is vocabulary heavy, so our work is around explicit vocabulary instruction, our professional development work. And then we are also just making sure that our students are receiving that guaranteed and viable curriculum in science, 200 minutes a week. When you have new ELA curriculums and there's a huge focus on reading, it's sometimes it's important that we still get those 200 minutes of science. So we're really focused on that and bringing that all together this year. So I'm hoping that gives everybody kind of a picture of Neie O'Brien as it was and as it is and where we're going. I do just want to, before we move on to the really exciting part, which was our students, I just want to say that when I came to Neie O'Brien, there were structures and systems missing, but the team there was the right team. So I was lucky in stepping into a team of hardworking people that were there for the right reasons, and they really just needed a little bit of support and nudging to all get in the same direction. So now we're really moving, but kind of all the success and all what we've experienced till now is really down to the team that was there and continues to be there. So I do want to just mention that. There's a group of really hardworking and passionate people at Neie O'Brien. So anybody who wants to come down and hang out with us is welcome. So we are going to turn to our student spotlight. So we have 4 students that we are going to spotlight in line with our 4 SIP goals. And we really narrowed in on these students for both their skills and their strengths, but also just their hard work and their growth over the course of last year and the beginning of this year. So we made a video. So we're going to show the video. And then they're going to be brave and come up and be recognized. So I am going to try to play the video. This is the part I was most nervous about, so hopefully the audio works. Does that help? Okay.
Brian, I'm here with Kamaya.
Okay.
She's one of... Hello! It's Leah Burns from Neie O'Brien. I'm here with Kamaya. She's one of our 3rd graders in our dual language program. And she is here. We're spotlighting her because she has made some excellent attendance improvement. Kamaya, why is it important to be at school on time every day?
To learn.
So you can learn, yeah. And what are some of the things that you've done to kind of improve your attendance?
Wake up more early.
Yeah. Is it hard to wake up early?
Sometimes.
But you do it anyway, huh? Yeah, good job. We are very, very excited and proud of Kamaya and her amazing growth that she's made in attendance. She is a superstar, and we are happy to spotlight her here at Neie O'Brien. This is Jennifer Osgood at Neie O'Brien. I am here with Nikolai and his sister Nicole. We are here because Nikolai was selected as our student spotlight for the year for science work, the work he did last year in class. His teacher said that he always asked great questions. He was super excited about science and had just a great scientist mind. So we are excited to spotlight him. And I would love to know, Nikolai, what's your favorite thing about science?
My favorite thing about science, probably learning about it.
What do you like learning about the most?
Earth and its seasons.
Earth and its seasons, I love that. And what do you think it looks like if you're working really hard in science in class? What does that look like?
table group working together.
Nice. That is awesome. So we are so excited to highlight you, spotlight you. Great work. Keep it up.
My name is Mrs. Martinez, and I'm an Odyssey teacher at Neie O'Brien. And this is Elu, and he is our math scholar for making a lot of progress last year in 3rd grade. Elu, what's your favorite part about learning math?
It's challenging. It's challenging, and like it's really fun.
Okay, what makes it fun?
Like I like numbers a lot, and when it's hard, I go like when I go home and my dad teaches me more about it. Once it's easy, it's like boring and you don't really learn anything.
Okay, and Elu is a part of our Odyssey program. Elu, what's the best thing about the Odyssey program?
It's more challenging than like a normal grade.
Okay. What's your favorite part about being in an Odyssey classroom?
It's challenging, it's fun.
Elu, we're super proud of you and all of your math growth that you've made the past year. And we're so excited to continue with this math journey in Odyssey in the 4th grade this year at Neie O'Brien.
Thank you.
Hi, this is Luna. She is a 5th grader at our dual language program here at Neie O'Brien, and she is being spotlighted for her excellence in Spanish and English language arts. Luna, what is your favorite part about language arts?
I like reading and writing out loud to the class, and I really like writing because it helps me a lot. And also I really love reading out loud to the class.
Thank you.
So as you just heard, Luna's part of our dual language program, and so I'm going to ask her a couple questions in Spanish. Luna, has estado en el programa de lenguaje dual por muchos años, ¿verdad? ¿Cuál es tu parte favorita del programa?
Me gusta poder comunicar con mi familia y traducir para otras personas y hablar con otros.
Excelente, muchas gracias, Luna. Estamos súper orgullosos de ti. We are so proud of Luna, and we were so excited to be able to tell you a little bit more about her today.
So obviously the best thing about working at Neie O'Brien is the students who are amazing, and 4 of them are here. So I'm going to call them up. We're going to take a picture with a certificate. So Nikolai, you want to come up first? Yes.
Would it be okay if they want to bring their family?
Yes, family, you can come up if you want. Come on up. Everybody wants to follow us. All right, Maya. Okay, family can come up.
Oh, we're gonna do them one at a time.
Oh, we're gonna do one at a time.
One
Sorry.
at a time.
I got excited. Okay. Okay. Oh.
On this slide. I should be getting them over here. Three. 1, 2, 3. Let's take one more.
Show your
1,
smile.
2, 3. There you go. Great job.
Okay, now we have Maya. Okay. Nikolai.
All right, count 3. 1, 2, 3. Got one more. 1, 2, 3. Great job.
Okay, wait, Maya and Nikolai, come back up. We're gonna do her photo. Okay, Elu. You guys go on up there.
All right. 1, 2, 3. All right, let's take one more. 1, 2, 3. Great job. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. Great job. We all scoot over to the right chest.
Yeah, let's have Ms. Burns go up.
Red Hawks on 3. 1, 2, 3. Great. Thank you.
So thank you again to Principal Osgood. She is spending her wedding anniversary with us this evening, and so just want to really appreciate her leadership and our families of Neie O'Brien. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Of course, we would love for anybody to stay as long as you would like. We would love to have everybody join us for board meetings, but we also understand that bedtimes and dinner sometimes comes in the way for staying for board meetings. So we also, if that's for your family better to leave, you're welcome to do what's best for your family.
Thank you.
That was awesome. Thank you so much. We now move on to section 3.02, school improvement plans. Again, I call on Superintendent Vela.
Thank you, President Margell. I'd like to re-invite Dr. Rebecca Kim, our Associate Superintendent of Teaching and Learning, to begin our school improvement plan presentation.
Okay, thank you. We don't mean to be back-to-back. This was formally scheduled for a work session, but we wanted to be sure that we were presenting some exciting updates of our school improvement plans that exist in all 44 of our schools and academies. So I have the pleasure of introducing 5 of our principal supervisors this evening who are going to share some updates that around the school improvement plan that are aligned to our updated school board policy around school improvement plans, the strategic plan alignment, the intentionality around that, and then also some really exciting celebrations that you've heard about, but we just wanted to make sure we were highlighting in this space around these intentional school improvement plans. So coming up, again, is Dr. Christine Avery, Jim Scheel, Jerice Johnson, and Dr. Kathy Emmerich, who are Executive Directors of School Leadership and Success, and then our Executive Director of Community Partnerships and Secondary Pathways, Carol Cleveland, who supervises our academies and programs. So with that, I'm going to pass it on to our esteemed leadership team.
Good evening again, President Margell, Directors of the Board, Superintendent Vela, and Ms. Curry. We are pleased to be here this evening doing a school improvement plan presentation. As you recall, last February, we adopted our first board policy for school improvement plans, and it was during the work session where the board suggested that we add a science goal. And I'm excited to tell you that it has had an incredibly positive impact district-wide K-12 on curriculum, instruction, and assessment in science. And before I move to the next slide, I want to share that we have 15 schools that receive additional resources and support from OSPI, the Office of School and Systems Improvement that we call OSSI, to give them resources to give them support in achieving their SIP goals. And they approve those schools' SIPs each year in the fall. And we just received a wonderful email from OSPI telling us that they are incredibly proud and impressed by the school improvement plans developed in the Kent School District. We're very proud of them. And so each year, as I'm sure you know, we do go through a cyclical process of continuous improvement. And so we have new school improvement plans that are produced for the new school year, usually completed in August, so that they're ready to go for the new school year. We have a February mid-year review, which is doing that implementation check of each school improvement plan activity. And then, of course, we have the end-of-year SIP review, where we do a deep dive into the data to understand where we met our goals and where we need to continue to grow and improve. The process that we engage in to develop a school improvement plan each year involves stakeholders. It also involves a comprehensive needs assessment. It involves a root cause analysis of the data to identify what our best guess is of what is causing the disproportionalities to occur in academics, attendance, behavior. And then from that analysis, we select evidence-based, research-based best practices that we reference as and refer to as high-leverage SIP activities that are directly connected to that root cause analysis. And then each year, by November 1st, the school improvement plans are presented to you and accepted by our board of directors. Thank you.
All right, I get to talk about our alignment with the strategic plan. So Dr. Avery mentioned that you adopted a new policy last year on school improvement planning, but the other initiative that was going on at the same time was aligning our school improvement plans with the district's strategic plan was one of our priority initiatives for last year. And Dr. Emmerich and I got the opportunity to collaborate together with a subset of principals across the district and some of our partners in teaching and learning to engage in that work together. Why was that important at the time? Well, our business is to improve student learning. That's why it was identified as a priority initiative, that's what everything else we do in our strategic plan is designed to get the results that we saw from these awesome Red Hawks that we had here a couple of minutes ago. The other part was also to really focus, and we've heard Superintendent Vela talk a lot about system coherence. How do we take a school improvement planning process in 44 different schools, and how do we bring some coherence to that, not only in how those schools are operating and how they're perhaps learning from each other, but also how are we partnering with them at the district level in terms of accessing resources in teaching and learning staff knowing what's happening in schools and being able to support, principals knowing what supports that teaching and learning can offer. So the charge we had overall was an updated school improvement plan template, so the technical piece of actually coming up with a new or refreshed form, but then really also the adaptive work of really looking at the process and how we better align and obtain greater coherence, which is something that's actually ongoing into this school year. Excuse me. So our anticipated impact is, as we said, an updated template, which Dr. Emmerich will share with you. Really a special emphasis on that collaborative work. That was something that we really, it was really an area for significant improvement for us, I think, as a system, was those of us working in teaching and learning. You know, we as principal supervisors have a deep knowledge of what each of our schools is working on, but how do we make sure that our colleagues who support math, our colleagues who support science, our colleagues who support social emotional learning out of teaching learning, how do we make sure that everyone's on the same page and knows what schools are doing so we can better use our resources and we can really target those needs that schools have identified. Remember that the strategic plan as a district, when we think about system coherence, the strategic plan is establishing the vision for the district, and our school improvement plans are designed to help implement that vision at the school level in classrooms and with specific students. And our impact as we look forward is to continue monitoring our annual school improvement objectives and activities to make sure that they continue to be aligned. And then, of course, to then take that individual classroom and school monitoring and layer that with monitoring our achievement and our growth across the entire system. And Dr. Emmerich is going to talk about the actual changes we made to the template.
All
All right, so as Mr. Shio mentioned, we created a committee last year that incorporated principals, assistant principals, and district office staff to make what on the cursory glance could look like technical changes to our SIP plan, but they really are helping us get to those adaptive changes that are going to be higher impact for our students and our community. So the first thing we wanted to do was make sure that our school improvement plans were very data-driven, and when schools are going through the comprehensive needs assessment, that they're using the data that's really going to identify those student groups that are in need of increased supports to meet standard. So we connected our school improvement plan directly to the Washington State framework for data that indicates those groups of students who are furthest away from learning and meeting standard. That data is then driving where our schools are identifying their school improvement plans and indicating their equity components of their goals. We also took an opportunity to ensure that our school improvement plans were directly related to the district strategic plan. And so school teams now have the opportunity to create that direct connection through the SIP plan by indicating on their SIP plan how it aligns. SMARTY goals in this case stands for specific, measurable, ambitious, but realistic, time-bound, inclusive, and equitable. Another change that we made is that we wanted to make sure our school improvement plans across this system were directly aligned to the best practices from OSPI. So each school has to identify what action steps they'll be taking to implement their plan and the activities that align to that. With this opportunity, we created a drop-down menu in our SIP plan so that schools are right there recognizing the best practices that are aligned to the OSPI research. We also reframed, and this was in direct correlation and feedback from principals. We reframed the graduation goal and to culture and climate to directly align to the strategic plan so that we really were bringing in the sense of social emotional learning, collaborative climates, and really articulating how our students' sense of belonging was playing into student success. Principals really wanted to keep a fourth goal in addition to the science because they wanted something that was measurable, not just by test scores, but through surveys and through different kinds of discourse and ways to collect data on how students and families were feeling connected to schools. And then, of course, in relationship to the policy, we added a science goal. And through this science goal, again, what we heard earlier today, and we heard with Christine, that schools really are intentionally focusing on science more than they have in the past, really due to the fact that we have a science goal. And it has increased that opportunity for school teams to work directly with our teaching and learning staff, who's helping them identify goals and ways to measure progress, similar to what we saw at Neie O'Brien with 200 minutes of science to nonfiction, or how to create different kinds of ways to format your science knowledge. So we're excited about the changes that have come through our SIP plan.
Good evening. And now I'm going to share with you a visual representation of how it all comes together across our 44 schools, and that the themes, when you look at all of the SIPs, there are some themes that have emerged, and one of the things that you see, the themes that have emerged are what you see in bold across the top in each box. And these are those high leverage activities that my colleagues talked about that were in the drop-down menu. Further, the implementation of these interventions, their activities or strategies to support the high leverage activities in bold are what you see underneath. So each of these things, these activities or these strategies are items that schools have selected to improve student outcomes. So these are patterns, again, across all 44 schools. Within this, schools also leverage either human resources, human power that are represented by the use of interventionists, the use of coaches or teachers and community partners. We also leverage our financial resources, including our LAP and Title Fund or building funds, to take actionable steps towards achieving the SMARTY goals. These activities and targeted strategies are, in this representation, are not separated out by literacy or math or science because we find them across all four of the all four of the goals. So you would find interventions in literacy, and you would find interventions in science, or you would find intervention during math time. And so other words, you'll see that professional learning communities will come together again across all of the goal areas. And at the core of our work is the through line, and as you've heard multiple times, it is our strategic plan. The goals in our strategic plans are outlined, so that is what's represented in the middle, because we want to make sure that we are cohesive and that we are not working in isolation so that we can truly be one KSD. We want to ensure that our efforts align and we support our overarching goals of our district. Thank you.
For years, the Washington School Recognition Program has honored K-12 public schools across the state for their outstanding achievement in 3 areas. In closing gaps, meaning schools making significant advancement for all students or specific student groups. Growth, meaning schools with high performance in at least 60% of the Washington School Improvement Framework measures. And achievement, meaning schools showing high performance in measures like attendance, dual credit completion, ELA assessments, graduation rates, math assessments, and 9th grade on-track attendance. OSBI has partnered with the State Board of Education and with the Educational Opportunity Gap Oversight Accountability Committee to identify and recognize the following schools. These schools will receive a banner to display their buildings similar to the banners that you see in the room. For the school year of 2021 and 2022, Jenkins Creek Elementary received a recognition for gap closing improvement for all students. Grass Lake Elementary received recognition for high growth in math and ELA for the Asian student group. Thank you. Okay. Lake Youngs Elementary received recognition for high growth in math and ELA for students receiving multilingual services. And in 2022-2023, Kent Elementary received recognition for high growth in math and ELA for their student group Hawaiian Pacific Islander. George T. Daniel Elementary received recognition, high growth in math and ELA for their student group Hawaiian Pacific Islander. Neie O'Brien Elementary received high growth in math and ELA recognition. Ridgewood Elementary received high growth in math ELA recognition for students who receive multilingual services. And Kent Laboratory Academy received an achievement recognition for improvement in whole school graduation rates and 9th grade on-track attendance. So please join me in recognizing by silently clapping for a job well done for all of these schools. We can clap.
Thank you to our executive directors of teaching and learning. And as you approve, hopefully, or you discuss to approve our school improvement plans, we hope that you have more insight and understanding of the intentionality of the planning and the work that our school leaders and teams are doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the board?
Oh, it's just an observation of the change in educational philosophy in the last 25 years and the professionalism demanded at all levels now as we get very specific in what is to occur each year within each classroom. And the fact that there are benchmarks constantly being employed so that there is a tracking system, an awareness of where we're at, and hopefully that we're building a support system that really moves the ball as teachers encounter so many different barriers that have to be overcome. And principals are supported in getting the professional learning in the buildings that really make a difference in terms of how we measure and how we assess and how we go forward.
Thank you very much. Director Cook?
I have no questions. Thank you.
Thank you. I just wanted to say two things that really stood out for me between the presentation from Neie O'Brien and then the SIP plans were one about attendance, and I would love to hear if anybody would like to talk about maybe some best practices that we're seeing from our schools that are really seeing improvement in and seeing the attendance go up. And then also specifically about and I appreciate Ms. Johnson, you talked about this, but I'd love to hear a couple more examples about our family engagement activities and what we're doing to be able to engage all the different aspects of our community into our schools. If we could hear a couple examples of those, I'd love to.
I'll just have the team come up, and as they're walking up, they might be thinking of some of those. They have the wonderful opportunity to work with our school leaders, and they hear a lot of things that are happening. I'm sure they have some examples between their team. So attendance first, and/or family engagement, either one.
So I want to make sure you want to hear more examples around which piece, the family?
Family engagement, just what maybe some of our schools are doing particularly to be able to, for their community that's engaging their families, and then attendance, what's really working well in some of the schools that they're doing to make a difference.
Thank you. For family engagement, our schools are identifying, it coincides with the climate and culture and really understanding the need to really, when they look at their root analysis of getting families either into schools or us needing to go to the families. And what that might look like is starting with focus groups to really understand if there are barriers and what they are. So us not presuming that we know best, but also involving the voice of our families and students. Other ways that families are engaging schools are engaging are figuring out what are types of activities to bring families into schools. So that might mean, I think on the slide there was STEM family engagement nights. So that might mean having activities that families can come and do together. So involving food, involving fun, involving prizes. Those are some activities that are being done. There are some specific parent nights to have kids doing some activities while the parents come in and receive instruction or instruction in things that they might need to know around college and career readiness, around understanding curriculum more, or understanding school, things that try to reduce the barrier or that stigmatism for some families of coming into the school system. There are some schools that are going to some of our larger apartment communities, going to the apartments to reduce that barrier, and also thinking about ways in which students can stay after school to have some more activities outside of just like tutoring, but what types of fun activities that kids can engage in after school. So if that means having an activity bus so kids can get to and from school later on safely. So those are some.
Great, thank you. Thank you for the thorough answer on that.
I'd like to also add one. I know that in two of my recent school visits that I had, and I can't remember which school, there's so many, they also offer incentives for grade levels for 100% attendance. And when I walked into a classroom, I remember awards, and the students were in, I think it's second grade classroom, it was like the second time they were receiving the school award for 100% attendance for the month. And I got to tell you, they were beaming. It was just amazing, and I joined along in the celebration. And so that's like a real example of how that builds that enthusiasm with students. And I have to say that in that classroom, and our teachers do a great job of building a culture in their classroom where our students want to be there, and that's just that little added incentive that they were happy to share. So.
Thank you. Thank you. I want to just build on what Doris was talking about. A few really exciting family engagement activities that I'm aware of. One that I think is absolutely exceptional and began last year, the Birch Creek community in the boundary changes. Those elementary students all feed into the Pine Tree Elementary school boundary now. And starting last year, and it continues into this year, on a monthly basis, the principal and school-based team, teachers volunteering their time, in the evening, they host a monthly event where they bring food, free babysitters, free activities, and then the parents get to determine the topic. And what they have been interested in has been various parenting skills. And the principal actually goes in based upon the topic that they're interested in. One was routines, morning and evening routines in the home. And the principal served as a community leader, helping to teach those systems that mirror the school expectations. And it's been really successful and exciting. Another really quick example at Scenic Hill is they have a really richly diverse community, and they are identifying. It's a program that's been around a while called Natural Leaders. They're not doing the formalized program, but they're just doing, they're really just doing the spirit of it, which is getting to know each community and identifying a leader, and then bringing those leaders together so that school information is brought back, whether it be through church, community senators, in their language, and so that's one way that they're doing it. And then finally, I know many schools, I'm sure K-12, that do home visits. Home visits are really becoming more frequent than ever before. And they're knocking on doors, and they're just talking to parents face to face. As it relates to attendance, that is a national phenomenon post-COVID. It's very complex, but at Neie O'Brien, for instance, they are doing a personalized program, and that's really what it's coming down to. The reason a student may be late to school or not coming to school regularly is vastly different from home to home. And so they are doing daily phone calls, they're doing home visits, and they're creating personalized, individualized attendance plans. We also have schools that are partnering with the Office of School and Systems Improvement officers that support Kent School District. And right now at Kent Elementary, for instance, they are partnering with that liaison and partner, and they are going to be doing student and parent focus groups because it takes additional adult manpower and resources to do this work because it's often happening outside of the school day. And so they're just leveraging every resource possible, and they're just meeting with groups of parents and students to diagnose, get to the root cause of whatever phenomenon it is that they're trying to study and solve.
Thank you.
I had a question on that a little bit about the superintendent's comment about the 100% attendance. Is that something that's adjusted based on students' disabilities and things like that, that they are unable to meet that 100% attendance due to medical condition or something along those lines?
So I wouldn't know that. I could find out for you and let you know, including the school.
So I can give a quick.
Oh, great.
I believe the school that you visited was Park Orchard.
Oh, okay, that's there it is.
They do 100% attendance rewards. And yes, similar to what Dr. Avery said, the school and the admin team is very knowledgeable of each student's situation and why they are coming to school or why they are not coming to school. If a child is home sick and it's been an excused absence and we know that the child is home ill and taking care of themselves, that does not count towards their classroom attendance rates. However, If the absence goes on for longer than what we would hope, they do home visits and make sure they're connected with resources as needed.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That is exactly what I wanted to hear.
I just wanted to add a quick note about attendance at the secondary level, because it's very different from elementary. One of the things that's been really successful at one of the secondary schools I support is as students are coming to school late or not attending, or as they're finding students in the hallway when they're not supposed to be, which I'm sure you know that never happens.
Never happens.
But instead of engaging with that student, where are you supposed to be? Let's get you class, here's your discipline. They're actually having a conversation. In fact, in one place, they carry around little QR codes, and the student scans the code with their phone and then is answering a quick series of questions about what are the barriers that are keeping you from class? Why, what's happening while you're late today? And they're not attaching student names to that, but then as a leadership team, they're able to take that information and really start thinking about what are the barriers that are preventing kids from getting to school on time or coming to school at all or being late to classes. Is it teaching practices? Is it certain times of the day? Is it routines? And as they're gathering that information, now they're able to come up with some specific intervention plans based on that data. So rather than thinking of it as a discipline piece, there may still be a discipline piece to it, but really approaching it from what do we need to do as a system to make sure that you can get yourself to school or get yourself to class on time.
Thank you. I love the enthusiasm around the answers.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the presentations, and please thank Principal Osgood for her time today, and thank you all for sharing with us. We now move on to section 3.03, capital projects update, and again, a call on Superintendent Bella.
Thank you, President Markell. I'd like to introduce Mr. Brett Scribner, who will lead our presentation on our capital projects update.
Good evening, President Margell, members of the board, Superintendent Vela, Ms. Curry. For those in the audience and online, I am Brett Scribner, Assistant Director of Capital Projects, and I appreciate the opportunity to present the Capital Projects update. Quick overview. We will start with the capital funding and project overlap, then move on to the 2016 bond recap with recently completed projects and the 2018 levy recap with recently completed projects. We will then cover remaining fund balances and the 2024 levy. Please note any questions, and we will get to those after the presentation. Capital measure funding and project overlap. This shows a high-level overview of where a measure is approved, funding is received, project design starts, construction begins and is completed along with final closeout documents. You can see here how the 2016 bond and the 2018 levy overlap along with the much smaller proposed 2024 levy. The 2016 bond recap shows that of the 102 projects originally approved, 85 have been completed to date, with 14 currently in progress. We anticipate to have all projects completed by the end of the 25-26 district fiscal year. Recently completed bond projects include the Cedar Heights Science classroom renovations, Lake Young's roof replacement, Kent Ridge Pack Gym foyer remodel, Carriage Crest and Springbrook additional storage projects, the Pine, the Pine Tree and Carriage Crest parking lot revisions, Meridian Middle door hardware replacement project, Fairwood classroom wall replacement, and the Sioux Creek Makerspace. For the 2018 levy recap, we had an original 307 projects with 4 added through district recommendation and board approval. 218 are complete to date with 36 currently in progress. We anticipate to have projects completed by the end of the 27-28 district fiscal year. Recently completed projects from the levy include flooring replacements at Cedar Valley and Sawyer Woods, Springbrook Playground and Matson parking lot asphalt, Kentwood parking lot and fire lane replacement with curb repair, Meridian Middle parking lot asphalt, Daniel Elementary curb repair, Matson and Meeker interior and exterior painting, Meeker Middle Science Room and storage remodel, replacement of stage curtains at Kent Meridian and Cedar Heights, and the controls upgrade at East Hill Elementary for the energy management system. Types of projects scheduled for 2025. At multiple sites, there are energy management control upgrades, domestic water backflow installation and or replacement, and field under drainage replacement. For a few locations, there are bus loop and parking lot projects, floor covering replacements, and ventilation upgrades. Some site-specific projects include the Scenic Hill Multimedia Center, Meadow Ridge Fire Alarm, and refinishing of the Meeker Middle gym floors. This is a breakdown of the remaining funds for the capital measures. In the 2016 bond, there were $252 million collected. Other revenues added 9.7. We have spent $231.5 million to date, leaving $30.2 million to finish the remaining projects. For the capital portion of the 2018 levy, there has been $70.7 million collected to date, with $41.1 spent, leaving $29.6 remaining to finish projects. This is not including the final collection at the end of 2024. I will also add for clarity that this does not include the money for the technology portion of the 2018 levy. Our current measure for the 2024 capital and technology levy covers critical and emergent needs, health and safety, cyber and data security, and technology upgrades. I would like to remind our community to remember to vote and vote early if you're able to. We encourage those who are interested to visit our website for all current bond and levy information, as well as informational facts on this upcoming 2024 levy. And that concludes the capital project update, and we'll now open for questions and comments. Thank you.
Director Cook?
I have no questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Clark?
Obviously, public safety being a constant concern, when I look at things like the exterior improvements, is there things that we were specifically targeting that would have been, obviously the road and access things are all necessary parts of public safety. Is there anything else that comes to mind?
For safety?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to continue to improve the district with the projects that are slated for the 2018 levy and the 2016 bond. Many of those projects do align with safety. Some of them are needs that were listed in the past, and we're going to continue to move forward with completing those projects.
Yeah, I recognize many of the older elementaries, the access points were aggravated over time, and I'm just wondering if there's anything that comes to mind that is a high priority in the coming year.
You mean outside of the projects that we have on our list?
No, just even within that list, to demonstrate that we have been constantly aware of things that had to be improved.
If I may, Director Clark, as I was looking at the list and listening intently, the bus loops and parking lots, I would say, kind of fall into some of that. The reason being, in some of those bus loops were for buses were not sufficient enough for turning certain size buses. In addition, some of our parking lots were in dire need of either curbing, safety for cars, and/or walkways. I know I've seen some of those that are done, and I'm just thinking those are also under the safety area, just because of parking yeah, so just wanted to add that.
Yeah, having adequate crossings in our parking lots is important. And the maintenance team does a good job of making sure that our parking lots are striped. And we always seal coat and stripe our parking lots after they're replaced.
Okay, thank you.
No questions. Thank you very much for your presentation. And I got to go see the beautiful new doors at Meeker and the bright green, and they're looking really sharp. So
Thank you.
Thank you for the work. I know that a lot of the stuff, unfortunately, we don't get to see. It just makes the school work. And so thank you for all the work that goes noticed and unnoticed from your team.
I appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr. Scribner.
It is 7:52, and we have still quite a bit left of our agenda, so I want to go ahead and give everybody, let's say, a 5-minute break, so they can grab a glass of water or do what they need to do. So we will come back at 7:57. Okay, it is 7:57, so we're going to go ahead and come back. We are now on item number 4.01, public comments.
Ms. Santello.
Good evening, President Margell, members of the board, Superintendent Vela, and Ms. Curry. For this section, we've received one comment, and this will be the last comment for the evening, pending any other forms turned in.
The comment we have today is for Erica Billiard. I'm sorry about that. Thank you, Erica.
Surprisingly, just like this spelling. It's people every time. Good evening, Board and Superintendent Vela. My name is Erica Billiard, and you may recognize me from last night. I'm a parent and volunteer at both Sue's Creek and Kent Lab Academy. First off, my family attended the event at KLA with the superintendents last night. There were many families there who were deeply concerned about the safety and other very important issues in attendance. Most of us did not get to voice our specific questions or concerns and have them answered. I would ask the district to reconsider the format of future scheduled events to make them more conversational, because honest and healing are absolutely crucial and something this community needs more of. Secondly, I'd like to speak to the general state and safety of the schools my kids attend. Both schools are suffering from sharing one assistant principal when a full-time AP at both are desperately needed. Overworked and overstressed staff and students who are disruptive, unsafe behaviors due to a general lack of support are some other issues that they're facing. Some of our very best teachers and paras are quitting to go to other jobs or retiring earlier than they otherwise would have with better district support. I'm the daughter of a teacher and an ardent supporter of public schools. Yet, like many families in this district, I'm at a point of making really tough decisions about keeping my youngest child at Sue's Creek or even in KSD, because he's a great, easy, high-performing student who is in his 4th year of hating school, and that's not okay. And that's a direct result of district-level decisions, particularly those pertaining to understaffing, curriculum that involves stacks of worksheets daily, and a lack of support for his classmates who most need it. I'm heartbroken about this for my kid and the countless others who are having similar experiences. And I will be here Monday to try to make it better, but I hope that we make more decisions with, we're doing great things in this district, but a lot of those are not filtering down to classrooms like my son's, unfortunately, which has like 26 students, 26 second graders, and kids who are touching each other all the time, and kids who are totally unsupported, and it just is in stacks and stacks and stacks of worksheets again. So it's just not okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Erica. That was the end of our public comment section. We move on to section 5.01, Superintendent Report. Superintendent Vela.
Thank you, President Margell. Tonight, I'd like to first start off by thanking all of our presenters, great presentations today, and point out I wanted to, a special thank you to Principal Osgood and her students, parents, and staff. I had the opportunity, as I mentioned a while back, to go out and present the celebration certificate that you heard about today, and was excited about listening to their excitement and coming to present today. So it was nice to see the students in person today, so a special thank you there. I'd also like to give another shout out, kind of exciting for the arts, in particular Kentridge. we have a student, and this is a congratulations to the student, a senior, Eden Paulos, who will be a featured violinist tonight as we speak at the IKEA Performing Arts Center with the Seattle Symphony Orchestra. I unfortunately had to say, I have a board meeting tonight, but that would be wonderful. But I did say I was going to point that out because that's pretty exciting and definitely serves. By the way, this is his second time this student has had that opportunity. It's rare to be invited to play even once with the symphony, and those of you who had that opportunity. But making her second appearance with this group is definitely exciting. So if you ever get the chance, please know that highly recommend trying to do that in the near future if you do. So I'm excited about sharing that with our board and our community. And as you heard earlier, yes, I, along with Dr. Berenger, our deputy superintendent, hosted our first Community Connect chat with the superintendent meeting at Kent Lab Academy. I wanted to first thank Principal Nip and her staff. As you might be aware, it does take a lot of work to set one of those up when the superintendent's office calls and says, hey, we'd like to hold this. And I got to tell you, her team did a great job. And a special thank you to those who attended. We were picking up chairs and probably even mopping and cleaning. And it was really, really great to see the unity that we had there last night. So thank you to all of our attendees. I believe we had approximately, I haven't got a count yet, over 30 at least, if not more, of our community members that attended. And I know, appreciated the dialogue around a variety of topics. To give you an idea, it included, by the way, we had students attend too, which was great. It included safety, policy, early learning. It was great to see one of our teachers of our ECE program attend, talk about our early learning ECE programming, in addition to mental health supports. And thank you to our board members who were also able to attend. So exciting to note that, and I hope that all will consider joining us at one of the upcoming chats around our district, which are November 19th, January 14th, March 11th, May 13th, and by the way, you don't need to write those down. We will post all of those full schedules and locations on the KSD website. And again, thank you to all that helped make that happen and will make that happen. And then finally, I'd like to just give a levy reminder that as you know and heard today from Mr. Scribner, that the KSD replacement capital and technology levy is on the November 5th ballot. It's located, by the way, on the second side of the ballot. So don't forget to flip your ballot over to find this replacement proposal. This levy is approved. It will fund essential projects and critical needs across the district. If you haven't registered to vote yet, there's still time to complete your registration by October 28th, either online or by mail. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're now about to go to our legislative update, which is when we close our public comments. So if there is anybody else who would like to get in the comment card, this is the time to be able to make sure that that's turned in. Okay. And so we move to item number 6.0, our legislative update. Director Clark.
If I can, I'd like to kind of look at the bigger picture of what we're a part of in terms of public education. This is from the Seattle Times editorial of today. And it's talking about a high school diploma no longer does the job. And I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I do want to get to the core of it. For all the innovation and brainpower associated with Washington in the last 3 decades, this state has a strangely tepid relationship with higher education. Only half of high school students enroll in college or job training programs after graduation. At one time, that might have worked. Today, it portends a looming crisis for Washington's economy It's easy to shrug off the doomsayers, to look at the state's booming economy, first nationwide in economic growth, ninth in the number of jobs projected over the next decade, and assume this rising tide will lift all boats. That would be a mistake. Research released this month by business leaders at the Washington Roundtable found that 75% of the 1.5 million new jobs forecast in such industries as education, healthcare, and skilled trades will need at least an associate degree or technical certificate. Nearly half will require a bachelor's degree. In blunt words of the Roundtable's report, Washington is not on pace to meet this moment. Now, the article is not all doom and gloom. The one thing that they wanted to stress is a recognition that students need to, of course, be thinking about the future, and that, of course, there is the Washington College Grant Program, of which this district is an active participant in getting kids to think about the future, and that there is a support plan to make that doable. And it's not about everybody has to have a bachelor education type of degree. It's technical training. I ask you to simply reflect back when I was growing up, what did it take to become an auto mechanic? And what does it take today? Because the entire process is now digitalized and scientifically measured, and you have to have the skills to interpret and analyze and obviously go forward. So I just, as I went through the school improvement program that you saw reviewed tonight, you're looking at higher demands in terms of knowledge and skills that are spread throughout the system, and that we in this K through 12 system are scientifically approaching what we do and measuring exactly what the expectations are and where we need to fill the gaps. And it's part of the whole system. And if I can, I spent many years in this district teaching American government, and one of the things I tried to drive home is the future is not an accident, it's a choice that we make as a community. And so that time is upon us as we approach November. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Director Clark. We now move on to section 7.01, gifts, donations, and memorials.
Madam Chair, I move approval of the gifts and donations in 701.
Is there
Second.
And the motion has been made and seconded. We're now open for discussion.
Just a quick reminder of how hard many of our parents are working and other groups to support our individual schools. Scenic Hill PDA raised $6,000 for field trips for their students. Kent Elementary was recipient of school supplies from a number of vendors. Costco Trading was $500. Exotic Metals, $1,000. City of Kent Riverbend Golf Complex gave $500. And in their for their food and inflatable for school carnival in May of this year, the Calvary Chapel South donated $1,943. Kent Ridge High School Boosters Club and Girls Basketball got a huddle stats program to the tune of $605. Kent Lake High School received from Valentine Roofing LLC a grant of $1,232 to meet cross-country meet registrations and expenses. And Meridian Middle School for music class expenses received a gift of $500 from Susan and Steve Frederickson. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there any further discussion?
I have nothing.
Seeing that there is none, there's a motion on the floor for approval of item number 7.01, gifts, donations, and memorials acceptance. All those in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye.
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 The motion passes 3-0. We now move on to the consent agenda. Is there any items that would like to be pulled? Seeing that there is none, is there a motion on the floor?
I move approval of the consent agenda items 801 to 813.
Is there a second?
Second.
There has been a motion made and seconded for approval of items on the consent agenda, items 8.01 through 8.13. We are now open for discussion. Seeing that there is none, the motion on the floor is for approval of item number 8.01 through 8.13. All those in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye.
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 The motion passes 3-0. We have the items that have been posted to our website and are listed here for informational. We now move to item number 10.01, final communication from the audience. I believe that we have all of those completed during our initial
Yes, we have.
communication. Great, thank you. We now move to the board reports. As Director Song is excused in absent, Director Cook, you to kick us off.
Yeah, I don't actually have anything this week. Sorry, today's been a little bit crazy for me, so I apologize for that, but I look forward to our next meeting.
Well, thank you for joining us on your crazy day. We now move to Director Clark.
I had an opportunity to take in a Kent Lake football game, and I joined Megan and Wade Barringer for school stops at Kent Ridge, at Meeker, at Scenic Hill, and East Hill Elementary. And East Hill, unfortunately, was so tight, we're going to have to go back because I have a lot more to learn. But I have to admit, I got a real deeper understanding of the dual language program at Scenic Hill, and not only its success, but its increased participation from students outside the district or within the district, students coming all the way from Covington to take part in a real skill development for their kids. That's all.
Great. Thank you very much, Director Clark. I would like to talk a little bit about the Community Connect. I'm going to make this a little personal for a little bit. I, as a parent in the district, didn't really always know where I could put my voice. And one of the reasons that and I'm sure that the information was out there, I just didn't know where to even look to find out where to go. And came to board meetings and had family members speak at them. But one of my passions in running for the board was to make sure that we have the voice of our community and making sure that we're out there. We have great partners within our administration to make this possible, and I'm so excited to see the Community Connects kickoff. And it was a really productive night last night. I agree that I think we all agree that we would love to be able to have seating where we could all look at each other, and I think that the conversation could go on. And I would comment that it does go on because incredible amount of notes were taken. We've already had debriefs and emails are going around and people are being followed up. And so those comments go on very open ears and are so appreciated, that just the community that we have and the involvement for the parents that were there. So I'm excited to be able to attend those later in the year, and just thank all of those parents that came out. We know we have a lot going on in our district on any one day, and so it was great that the parents that were able to make it to this one, and we look forward to more coming to other ones. Also last night, got to go to the Kent Ridge and to Homa game. Tie at 1-1, but still an amazing game of soccer. If you want to go watch some really good soccer, go watch our girls' soccer teams. There is passion on that field. Really fun to watch. Tomorrow is girls' leagues for swimming. So at Auburn High School, smaller pool, not a lot of room, so you can watch it online. from the comfort of your own home and see the amazing things that our swimmers do, and excited to see how our girls do in state or at leagues to move on to districts and finally state. As Director Clark mentioned, we did have the opportunity to join Deputy Superintendent Behringer at Kent Ridge. Excited to see CTE program, specifically around culinary arts, and see some of the investments that we've made into that program, and then the impact that that's having on students and opening up career fields. Meeker Middle School, the band, when students are begging to play a song for you because they're so excited about it, and it kind of brings tears to your eyes because it's for the Veterans Assembly, and it was all of our, it was a kind of culmination, I'm not coming up with the right word, where our different military branches, their songs kind of put all together, and the students did an amazing job at that. Also was really excited to hear a class that is around peer leadership and dispute resolution, and seeing the students role play and how they can then take those skills that they're learning back into their learning and their life. Great skills to take as they continue on. Scenic Hill, Director Clark mentioned about the dual language program. I'm going to talk a little bit about the decoration in the halls, that there's a focus in that school about what are you moving on to. And so throughout the entire school, you will see colleges displayed, and a lot about having students seeing themselves at their next level. To the point of even literal, where two of the teachers put their college regalia up on the wall with a mirror, so the students can see themselves wearing their the college regalia, and a visual representation of the work that's going on within that school and throughout our district. Also loved going over to East Hill, and while again not quite enough time in the school, and I look forward to coming back, excited to see the visual representation about attendance and the importance of that, and then just the excitement within the classrooms and the interaction of our students and our teachers, and how excited they were just for what we were able to walk in on and see what they were doing that day. So thank you very much. I'd also want to point out, unfortunately, we chose to go to Kent Ridge and Meeker during drop-off. And it's a real impact of what we do in our district to be able to make curbs so people can see them, that we can make the fire lanes wide enough and the parking so parents can get in and out and get our students dropped off safely. When you look at where our dollars go, sometimes it's hard to see how important a curb is until it's your kid that you're letting off and making sure that they're getting safely to their classroom. And so just thank our voters who have given us the ability to be able to do some of those things. Just appreciate the opportunity to be able to visit our schools. It is really the best part of all of this. Encourage people to go in and volunteer in our classrooms and see all the great things that are happening, and thank our families and students that came here tonight. And again, thank all of our students. It is really fun to see the growth and progress, even since the beginning of this year, that our students are making. And just know that you are the reason that we are here every day. Adult problems always seem to get in the way of really what we care about. And if we can always keep our focus on kids and our students, we know that we're doing the right thing. So thank you very much for being here. It is 8:22, and we are adjourned.